In this video, I'm going to talk about the Canada Dental Care Plan and what you need to know before you go to your dentist for the next appointment. Canadian Dental Care Plan is in effect for over a year, and already millions of Canadians have benefited from this program. Let's take a look at the eligibility of the Canadian Dental Care Program. So in order to qualify for this benefit, you cannot have any existing dental insurance plan, meaning that you cannot be part of any existing dental plan where your insurance provider will cover some part dental cost. If you are part of one of those plans, the second requirement is you have to be a Canadian taxpayer, meaning that you have to be a resident of Canada for tax purpose. It does not mean that you have to be a Canadian citizen. Anybody who is a Canadian tax resident will qualify for this program as long as they meet the other requirement. The third requirement, your adjusted family net income has to be less than $90,000. Now, I'll go a little bit details about how they calculate that amount. But if you are making over $90,000 as a family, then you will not qualify for the program. And the fourth requirement to get this benefit is you must file your tax return so the CRA knows your adjusted family net income. In order for CRAs to calculate your family income, they need to have your Canadian tax return. If you haven't filed any tax return, then CRA will not be able to approve you for this benefit. All the requirement has to be met. That means that you cannot just meet 2 or 3 requirements to qualify for this. All of these requirement has to be met before CRA can approve you for this program. Now, you might be wondering what actually no dental insurance coverage means. So a lot of Canadians, as part of their employment package, have access to dental plan. So those people will not qualify even if they make less than $90,000 because the employer is offering a sort of dental plan. And this is true for students and other organizations. It actually does not really matter if you are not part of the plan. As soon as the employer offers you, even if you don't take that option, you are considered not eligible to be part of the CDCP plan. And if you are part of any government program that provides comprehensive medical plan, then you also will not qualify for the CDCP benefit. The bottom line is you cannot have access to any sort of dental plan from your work. Now let's take a look at how CRA defines the adjusted family net income. Basically, this is a CRA tax returns line item 23,600. So if you go to your tax return and you go through all the line items, you will see the 10,000 line items are usually your incomes. So your 20,000 line items are your deductions. So at the bottom of the deduction page, you will see something 23,600. That's the adjusted family net income. In order to find out your family net income, all you have to do is you have to take your spouse's income. If you have a spouse, if you are a single person, then you just take your income and that would be considered your adjusted family net income. Now, most people don't have any UCCB amount anymore, and most people don't have RDSK income. But if you have, then there is a little bit different calculation. But for majority of the Canadians, 23,600 line item is basically what CRA is looking for. So if that number is less than $90,000, then you will qualify. If that number is over $90,000, then you do not qualify for the CDCP benefit. Now, let's assume that you qualify for this benefit because your income is less than $90,000 family income and you don't have access to any dental plan from your employer. Then if you are applying, make sure to apply for all of your household. If you have multiple kids, then make sure to apply in a household manner so that CRA can process the information pretty quickly. The application process for this CDCP application is pretty simple. You need to go to My Service Canada account. If you don't have any account, I made a separate video on this showing how to register for that account. But in general, if you go to your Google and search My Service Canada account, there is step-by-step that you have to follow. You need to set up a GCKey number, or you can use your banking login information and get access to this account. Now, this is the simplest option to get to this application. So you sign up for this MSCA account and then you will find a dashboard like this. At the top, you probably will see some other options such as your CPP contribution, your old age numbers. All of these information are available here. But if you go to the top one, usually you will see Canadian Dental Care Plan, and then you will see there is an option to apply for Canadian Dental Care Plan. And if you are already approved last year and you are renewing this year, you will select this option, which is Renew My Coverage. If you already been approved by CRA and you need to see the documents, you will find the document here by clicking on the View My Letters. Now, if online access is not an option for you, you cannot get access to online, then the other option is you call the 1-800 number I listed here. You can call the 1-833-537-4342 number, or you can also call the other number and you can talk to a representative and explain them. They will ask you some verification question to make sure that they are not talking to a stranger. And once you give the proper answer, they will be able to act on your behalf. All the conversations are recorded so they can take action on your request. So once you apply, now you notice that I said you have to renew it every year. The reason for that is every year your income might change. So in 1 year, your income might be over $90,000. I'm talking about the family net income. Your income might be over $100,000, but in the following year, maybe you started a business, or maybe you took some time off, or maybe you go for a maternity leave and you don't have access to any dental care plan anymore, and your income dropped below 90,000. Now you are qualified. So this is why CRA needs to have your application every year so that they can find out the eligibility. And basically, that's why you need to make sure you have to file your tax return every year. You need to apply for this renewal. This is the same process. You log on to your My Service Canada account and renew the application there. So it's a pretty straightforward process. And once you file your tax return, CRA already knows how much you made last year, and they will let you know if you qualify or not by looking at your tax return. Now, what information do you need to apply for this? The majority of the time, if you already have a CRA account online, informations are already available to CRA. And when you register for the My Service Canada account, a lot of information will pre-populate. So you don't need to enter all those information because CRA and Service Canada already has your information. All you need to do is verify those informations are correct. You need to have your social insurance number, date of birth, full name, household address, and all those things in order to apply for the CDCP plan. Again, as I said, I'll show you in a different video how to apply so you can see step by step. Now, what happens after you apply? So once you apply, you will get a notification from the government saying that your application has been approved. And then Sunlife will send you a welcome package. Now, Sunlife is the partnering company that the government has partnered with. Basically, they're administering all the billing process. As Sunlife is one of the largest, I don't know if they're the largest, but either Sunlife or Manulife, these are the major two insurance company in Canada. So Sunlife is working on behalf of the government. And basically, when you are submitting the claim, your dentist is actually submitting the claim to Sunlife agent. And Sunlife needs to know your information. So when you are approved for the CDCP benefit, the government will send you a confirmation letter, which tells you when is the start date and what is your coverage percentage. I will get to that part in a later slide. But that package will have information: when does the coverage start, when does it end, what kind of level the government is going to cover. All this information will be in that letter. You also will get the Sunlife information welcome package where you will have some member ID and some relevant information and some guidance how to use these information when you visit your dentist. So basically, you take that information, try to understand that, and then you go to the next step, which is finding oral care provider who is part of this CDCP plan. Now, up until today, I'm recording this video in May 2025. So not all the dentists are part of this plan, but there are significant numbers of dentists and other dental professionals who enroll to this program. You need to ask your dentist if they have signed up for this program. If they are not signed up with this program, then they will not be able to bill the government. And so you should not work with those professionals. Maybe you should find somebody else who has signed up with this program. If your existing dental professional does not have this agreement, then you can go to Sunlife's website, and this is a screenshot from Sunlife's website. Basically, you can put your address and find out the closest dental professionals who are part of this program. So you can select one of those. Or if you can't find any of those two, then you can call the 1-800 number to Sunlife's call center, and they will be able to guide you to find a dental care provider who is part of this plan. Now, what do you need to know before you go for your first visit? As I mentioned in the previous slide, you need to know your coverage start date and your benefit percentage, and then you need to bring your member ID. Before you go to the dentist, make sure to have a discussion with them first to make sure that the information they have is adequate. The price that they are going to charge you, they should be able to tell you how much is covered by the government and how much is not. So make sure to ask those questions before you do the service with the dentist. It is not possible for Sunlife to reimburse you. So don't pay the full price to the dentist. Dentist is supposed to collect the government portion directly from Sunlife and then your portion from you. You should not pay the full amount and then go back to Sunlife to get a reimburse. No, that's not the way it works. You are only supposed to pay your portion, and the rest of the portion is supposed to be paid directly from Sunlife. So understand that process and have a discussion with your dentist before you do the service. Now, what kind of care or dental work is approved by this Canadian dental care plan? Most of the diagnostic preventive service like x-ray, cleaning, regular checkups, they're all covered. Some basic procedure, major restorations are covered. But there is a catch. All of this service has a frequency limit, meaning that the government will not allow everybody to go to the dentist every few weeks. So they have a cap of how many times you are allowed to get a particular type of service done. And if you go to the website, your dentist will let you know how many times government will reimburse. For example, if you are doing cleaning stuff, maybe it is allowed 2 or 3 times a year. If you are doing major restoration, implementing crown, then that might have some limitation. Maybe the government will only reimburse once every 3 year or 2 year. So have the conversation with your dentist, because these numbers keeps changing and they will be able to tell you how many times you can claim those services. Now, you heard me saying level of payment. So the way the government has structured the plan is if you are making less than $70,000, all the cost of dental work will be covered by the government. So from the chart, you can see that anybody who is making $70,000 or less, 100% of the dental cost is covered by the government. If you make anything between $70,000 to $80,000, then 60% of the cost will be covered by the government, and the rest of the 40% you have to pay out of your pocket. So this is pretty common in private insurance, where the insurance company will not cover full amount. Dental work is covered 100%, but some of them have, let's say, a deductible or some sort of copay. This is a similar concept. So anybody who is making between 80,000 to 90,000, then the government will only cover 40%, and the rest of the 60% needs to be paid by the patient or you. And anybody who is over $90,000, as I said in the beginning, that person is not eligible to qualify for this CDCP program. That means all the cost has to be paid by the patient. Now, some other information that you should know before you go to your dentist. The first thing is, it's not just the dentist that eligible for this service. There is dental hygienist, some other type of specialist. Now, I don't know what the difference between these professions, but it's not just the dentist. There are some other professionals who are also eligible for this program. You will see that the payment that the government will reimburse is established by the government. Basically, the government has a set fee for each type of work. When the dentist performs a service, the government will reimburse or pay the funding based on the agreed upon price. The government already has a list of document where they shared different costs for different types of services. I'm sure that you don't want to see that big list of document, but your dentist will be able to tell you what is the agreed upon price between them and the government. And because if you are paying a portion of it, you need to know the price of that service. Also, sometimes there is pre-authorization required, meaning that the dentist might need to get an authorization from the government before they can work, especially if it is outside of the approved range. So normally, the government gives a certain range of money for the dentist. They don't need any authorization if the work is under the approved limit. But anything above that, sometimes the government needs a pre-authorization. So your dentist will apply for a pre-authorization to the government's agency, and they will determine whether it will be approved or not, and they will let you know. They cannot make decision whether you need it or not. The decision is basically whether they will cover it or not. And the last thing is, if you are part of some other federal social dental program, for example, Veteran Affairs or inmates has some dental plan in their respective agencies, there might be some coordination of benefit and some other provincial and territorial program. For example, I live in Ontario. Ontario Dental Plan has some benefit, so there will be some coordination between these agencies. But from a consumer point of view, you don't need to worry too much about those. As long as you know your copay level, that's all it matters. So what is the benefit of this Canadian Dental Care Plan? Basically, the government is saying that there are almost 9 million people who are eligible for this program, and they already have approved more than 3 million people last year. So that's a big number, and a lot of middle class or lower income families are getting access to dental care, which is good. So they estimated the average savings for each individual is almost $800, and there is almost 25,000 plus dental care professionals who are part of this plan. Do believe that this is a good positive thing that the NDP forced the Liberal government to implement. But one concern that I have is, like for any insurance, when it is paid by the government or the insurance company, a lot of time there is moral hazard that kicks in. For example, sometimes people overspend just because it's paid by the government, and sometimes the dental practitioners also take advantage because it's paid by the government. So there might be some unfortunate consequences, but that's part of the overall situation. And finally, some pro tips that I want to give you. So basically, as you know from the video, that the plan, the amount, how much you can qualify is totally depend on your adjusted family net income. So if you are making as a household close to $70,000 range, let's say you make $75,000, then you might want to do some RRSP planning or some other type of deduction planning. Basically, if you are making $75,000, that means you are $5,000 over the $70,000 limit. In that kind of scenario, you want to make a $5,000 RRSP and make your family income below $70,000 to qualify for more higher level of access. So this kind of planning will save you significant amount of money. Also, if you are a small business owner who have access to dental plan, before you buy an individual plan, have a look at these threshold numbers, because most likely you don't have access to employer-sponsored dental plan, because if you are a sole owner, normally what happens is insurance companies charges pretty high because there is a high likelihood that you're going to make a claim. In those scenario, maybe you should look at this number and talk to your financial advisor and make a strategy to see if you can qualify for some of the benefits. I hope this video was helpful to some of you who are planning to get access to the Canadian Dental Care Plan. If you have any other question, or if you want me to make a video on any different topics, please put a comment so that we can make a video on those topics. Until then, see you in the next video.